Hey, everybody, welcome to Take 5 Plus 1, a continuing series from us over here at the Adapters. Of course, that's Sean Worker, and I'm Glenn Hausman. Sean, great to see you. Listen, the world is in a tumult right now as the labor shortage continues. The reason why I'm saying shortage in air quotes right there is there's plenty of people to work. Just a lot of people aren't wanting to work for a lot of companies out there. What's going on?
First of all, where are they all gone?
Right?
What? The Great Resignation has occurred, and I'm still we're getting snippets, but I think the media has done a really kind of poor job of documenting where everybody's gone.
That's right.
And how it's segmented. I just scratching my head.
That's absolutely true. They're completely ignoring the fact that as we're embarking on this great reset or the Great Resignation, whatever you all out there want to call it, things have changed fundamentally. What we're experiencing, Sean, and you know this, is an allocation friction, a reallocation friction in the marketplace as people are trying to figure out what they want to do. After all, if you're not going to make big, bold moves now, then when? So these folks have kind of seemed to have disappeared from the marketplace, but technology, in my opinion, is opening up all sorts of new avenues for people to find individualized success and not be dependent on a big company to work for.
Yeah, I think and this has been really hashed over, so we probably won't go too much into it, but the headlines is people have reevaluated time. They've understood that they can live on less. I think that what's being underreported is that it's unclear as to how many are still on some form of subsidy from their relevant governments around the world. Some are completely off, some are completely on. The other part is that we've had other issues that have caused this friction. For instance, in Europe, it was the double whammy of Brexit and the pandemic. So the borders closed, and everybody had to leave anyway because they had to repatriate because of COVID. They discovered that they could get jobs closer to home rather than working abroad. And the third point is that, immigration became difficult. So they said that's difficult. And then on top of it, this whole thing was the poster child for a while was truck drivers. Where are they all gone?
Right. Well, a lot of them were retiring anyway pre-pandemic. A lot of them said, forget about it. I'm going to stay at home. It is not an easy job, Sean. It's exhausting, keeping people away from home. I'm anecdotally hearing, instead of driving across country, why not just drive a truck for Amazon?
That's it. Drive local, think local. And so all of these nodes, and I think it's going to take a couple of shows for us to connect all the dots, but rapid fire, low truckers,
right?
Supply chain problems, local truckers, supply chain problems, people switching and saying, if I can become a receptionist, why would I work in a hotel? And by the way, one really interesting anecdote on this is that it's actually easier to get into Harvard today than get a receptionist job because everybody's applying for receptionist jobs and secretaries. Wow. Predictability of hours, predictable. So I don't know. Maybe it's easier getting into Harvard. There's a relocation. Great Resignation. I resigned to go to Harvard.
John, I've got 2 kids getting ready to go to college next year. Do not say it's easy to get into Harvard. That's going to cost me a whole lot.
Let's get them both on the line right now. So get out there, get the cats, and let's have a chat. So when you connect all the nodes together, what we're faced with is it's actually a big issue, as we all know, for the travel and hospitality space. Right. And that's a burning question that's out there. Great. Tech is great, but you need people to serve the fries and the salmon and the steak. What are we doing about really changing the paradigm of how to work within people's lifestyles versus work for a boss?
And that is absolutely true there, Sean. Instead of sitting back and complaining that people don't want to work, you got to meet them where they are. It's been proven that people will work if they feel accepted at the place, if they feel they're adequately engaged, if they feel that they have a path forward for future success, right?
I saw an ad this week for a valet who goes into a garage and valets high-end cars. Wait for this. Please submit your resume, and you must have 2 years experience.
Right.
There's the problem. And that's also happening in hotels, event centers. You must have this experience. You must have this, and you will work any hours we tell you. And there is a recoil, and this probably is pretty permanent unless
Right.
something changes dramatically where, there's mass unemployment. But, everything's come back. Room rates have come back. Just demand is not shaping the same way, and we'll address that in a different show. But
We will. But Sean,
you
one
know,
of the things before we wrap up here and come to some final conclusions, maybe what we're talking about here, once again, is that hassle factor on No Vacancy Live and stuff that we've been doing. We've talked about this before. It prevents people from doing things. If you're making it too difficult to get people to engage with you in the workplace, to even get in the door to get that job, they're just going to go somewhere else where there's less friction. It's easier and they can get on with their lives.
yeah, as we shift into kind of tips and takes as we wrap here, the questions that property managers, employers of service positions, right, everything from retail to restaurants, have to ask themselves, what's the best and highest use of space?
Right.
Well, key learning, tip one, people shifted from driving long haul to delivering retail products locally. Learn from that. Predictability of hours and close to home. What is the hospitality space in particular doing to balance that? Two, all of us are not created equal. This is the old management versus new management. It is time for managers to realize that you're not a manager anymore. You're actually a leader of people. And that's a very different paradigm. You have to know your people, kind of like a player coach.
I was just going to say that, right? So you're not a boss as much as a coach, getting people to rally behind whatever the goal is and find mutual success and satisfaction.
And understanding their skills, their time frames, how they're thinking about their life. And you've got to adapt. This isn't even innovation. You've just got to adapt to survive. So the old manager is probably has a shelf life of 0 days. And we've got the new managers that are not managers, and they got to learn to be player coaches, or they got to be, team leaders as opposed to bosses, and having that mindset about, okay, what hours can you commit to? And yeah, it's harder for you. That is true. But if you want a business, you got to adapt.
That's exactly right. And with change comes better success. It's scary at first, but once you get through it, you're usually much better off on the other side. And a new breed of managers will rise up, Sean, and I think be able to create a different type of workplace, but a more meaningful and rewarding workplace.
Yeah. So your third point about success, what are the new measurements of success? Is it how you yield out your open space so that the community can use that and pay for it, might I add, for being co-working, co-living?
Right.
The other part is, what is success? You've got, a lot of hotel companies, a lot of retailers. They've got a workforce that have to come to work. And you've got an internal workforce that can work from home, the accounting group versus the bar and restaurant staff. So the new leader is now challenged that technology, as you brought up earlier when we were chatting, technology to connect those people, but also make sure you're creating a community. Again, hard work, but community is a fabric. Individualism is friction. And so, these gaps can be solved with apps, and apps are physical as well as digital.
Yep, absolutely. So, Sean, I think we're going to come back and revisit this issue again and again as things start to change. Follow great stories of adapting and innovating. If you want to learn more, of course, check out theadapters.net for a continuing stream of great content, all focused on helping you learn how to leverage the future of tomorrow. So for Sean Worker and myself, Glenn Hausman, thanks for watching. Take 5 + 1. See you next time.